Welcome to the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast, your main resource for 2QB fantasy insights, smart bets, and winning props. Hosted by Fab, Knack, and Raj.
Man, guys, I really was not ready for that first week without football. It's so sad when it's over. It's so sad. But luckily, guys, you have us, your lovely neighborhood podcasters here, where the fun never stops. But yeah, it was very sad. I didn't know what to do with myself really on Sunday. It was kind of weird, I had to actually be involved with my kids and be a father,
Your
play in the
father.
snow, spend some
Yeah.
time with my wife. It was very foreign to me this weekend, I gotta say.
How
No, I'm
many
kidding.
months of this we have? 6 months?
Oh,
No,
what there was
7
there's
months?
200 days. I think it's 200 days until the season starts, which is a lot of days.
This is the
And then
best
we
part
have
this is the best part though. Like with the off season, sometimes
The
it's
offseason is the best part. Low key, the best part is the
combine.
offseason.
Yeah, the
yeah,
combine.
look, it doesn't really stop until after the draft. Then it goes severely dry, and then there's some mini camps that kind of start, those voluntary ones that start a little bit later. Uh, but yeah, it's still for right now. It's there's still some football in the air, which is great. Not every Sunday, but as you mentioned, the combine's coming up, and the draft is right around the corner. There's free agency that's going to start in just a few short weeks. So, with that in mind, we're going to take this opportunity with this episode to go over some coaches that changed places. There was 7 coaches, 7 new hires in the NFL this year. And then we'll also look at some players that are on the trade block, or some to be released, and some that are UFA, and then see what we think our best fits are. So I'd say we dive right in. I'll go through quickly the new coaching hires in the NFL. So you had Mr. Liam Cohen, Duval with the Jaguars.
So cringe.
You got to do the head move though.
Yeah,
Duval.
Duval. Yeah,
He looks like a psycho. He looks like a psycho.
it's just super weird. We had Kellen Moore, who signed one day after winning the Super Bowl with the Eagles with the Saints. Brian Schottenheimer, I think the most questionable one on the board, to the Cowboys. Ben Johnson to the Bears. Aaron Glenn to the Jets. Pete Carroll makes his return to the NFL with the Vegas Raiders. And Mike Vrabel, one of the Patriots royalties, that goes to the Patriots. So I want to dive right in. Raj, what was your favorite hiring of the bunch?
Yeah, I think it was Kellen Moore for me, especially what he did so far this season, well, during the season with the Eagles, and then obviously in the playoffs as well. What I liked about him was that I think coming in, people were worried about the fit with Jalen Hurts. Would they have him not run enough? Would they have him too much under center? And what I felt he did was he played to the strength of Hurts, and he played to the strength of the team, which was running the ball, right? Too often you see these kind of flavor of the month offensive coordinators forget about the run and just try to throw the ball. And if I look at Kellen Moore's history as an OC, he's been in a top 10 offense 4 out of his 6 years as an OC. So 3 times with Dallas, obviously with Philly as well. And when he's had that top 10 offense, he's also had a top 10 running game. So it shows that he's able to be balanced as well. So I really see this as a nice benefit for Alvin Kamara, who 29, it's not that far off from Saquon Barkley, 1,400 all-purpose yards last year. As you know, he doesn't rush for 1,000 yards, but he's always at the 900 rushing, 500 or so receiving, 8 TDs, and he was RB15. So I think it could be a really big boon for Alvin Kamara. Kendry Moore is there. Let's see what happens at the quarterback position with Derek Carr. I don't think they have a choice but to keep going with him, but I'd like to see what they do with him and Chris Olave and the rest of that wide receiver corps. But I really like Kellen Moore. I really like how he grew as an offensive coordinator this year.
You think the Cowboys are going to regret letting him out of the building?
Probably, but I think Schottenheimer is going to do better than people think because of his dad. His dad was an amazing coach.
Yeah,
I think
true.
that lineage
For sure,
goes
yeah.
through. But he's coached in 1/4 of the NFL teams. He's been in 8 NFL teams.
That's crazy.
He's
Yeah.
seen everything. So he might not be the best play caller, but I have a sneaky suspicion that he's actually going to do really well because he's been in so many places and because of his dad.
Interesting.
Yeah, I
Interesting.
don't disagree with that.
And what about you, Fab? Which coaching hire caught your eye this off season?
I mean, obviously, from a fantasy football perspective, it's Ben Johnson to the Bears. You have to figure he's been like the OC darling or head coach darling for the last few years. Everyone's wanted a piece of Ben Johnson, and he's he's had some interviews and he's refused some and all that. Now he goes to the Bears, where by all accounts, you know something, he gets to mold the entire offense in his image. He gets Caleb Williams, who coming off a not a horrible rookie season by all accounts. I think he's still through for a decent amount of yards, and he showed some promise in the end. You have you have Roma Dunze there too. You saw some great offensive weapons. So I think it's going to be very interesting from a fantasy standpoint. I think they have to work on the O line in the offseason to make sure that gets up to par. That way, it can
Big time.
give some protection for Caleb. But if I'm a Bears fan right now, I am obviously excited because you kind of want to see what he can do in that offense. Because you look at what he did with Jared Goff, right? I mean, Jared Goff, by all accounts, great quarterback, but you have to assume that Caleb Williams has a higher ceiling than whatever Goff can have too. And no knock on Goff because Goff is
Allegedly, they're both first overall picks.
for sure,
Mm.
but like Goff only turned it on towards the end, and you really saw him develop under Ben Johnson, right? So I just feel like it's going to be a very good hire from a fantasy perspective. Um, Real football perspective, though, like not fantasy necessarily, because I don't think it's going to really affect them all that much. I do like Aaron Glenn at the Jets, though. I like that move a lot. I like uh, I like already like just day one, right in the press conference, he's really setting the tone and all that stuff. So from like a team morale perspective, the Jets needed this, and I see a lot of I see a lot of what they were missing. So I don't know. I just think it's going to be a very good move too from a real football perspective. But for fantasy wise, Ben Johnson with the Bears next year is going to be interesting.
Rod?
I love those two, Fab. Maybe just to go back to Ben Johnson, I'm really interested to see how he potentially unlocks Cole Kmet. I know this year for Sam Laporta was a bit of a down year, but we've seen what he did with him in his rookie year, and I think Cole Kmet is a missing piece and a very talented piece that has been underutilized with the Bears over the past 2 years.
Yeah, but I think also Fab alluded to it. Like they need help on the offensive line.
Yeah, for
He
sure.
was sacked a
Yeah,
boatload of
first and
times,
foremost. Yeah.
and he needs to stay upright. He can't be running for his life um, every snap. So no, those are definitely the good ones. I think the boring ones for me were like Vrabel. I was just like, I like okay, another Patriots guy. They're trying to replace a
Right?
Patriots guy.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like
Yeah.
I just felt really weird to me. And everyone knew he was going there, right? Like that was the worst kept secret in all of football this year. But it just like really like I thought you guys were restarting. I thought you guys are you made that mistake with Mayo. I mean,
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
at
But
least Vrabel has a track record. He did bring
yes.
a
Yes.
Tennessee Titans team
Yeah.
first overall in the AFC. I'm pretty sure did he make it an AFC Championship
Yes.
game
They lost
Yes.
against
against
the
the Patriots, no?
again? I think they lost against the Patriots. Yeah, that was the one. Well, that could have been even a divisional round. Anyways, he had the first. So he had some good years in Tennessee. So like I definitely like Mike Vrabel hire over a Gerard Mayo hire, but I just seemed like really like I thought you guys were going in a different direction now. So that one was kind of boring to me. But what I'm most interested in for real is Mr. Duval himself, Liam Cohen. I think we've all alluded to the fact that Trevor Lawrence is very talented. He could throw the football, and like if Cohen revived the likes of Baker Mayfield and made him look like what he is now, I'm kind of like because okay, he came out first overall. He's he's played a few years. They gave him that huge extension that, by all accounts, didn't really deserve. They just kind of gave it to him based on the fact that he was the first overall pick and he had some talent. But now it's time to like go to work and show out. So I'm curious to see what that does for Trevor Lawrence, and hopefully does become that player everyone expected him to be.
The only thing I don't like about this hire, and this is like not to knock on Liam Cohen and what he did for Baker and all that stuff, is that it's just like 1 year's worth for a body of work. I find like yeah, fantastic season in Tampa Bay, but and yeah, he has the acumen of being offensive coordinators for sure. Not much experience as a head coach, so that's where I'm only concerned about it. Like I can say something about Ben Johnson, obviously, but it's
You can say anything
Canales
about all
too.
of them, pretty much,
Yeah,
like
Canales.
except for Pete Carroll and Vrabel. I think they're all first-time head coaches.
I don't know. It's the track record is just one season, one really, really good season, and he's a head coach. And I don't know. Like I'm not as like if Trevor Lawrence doesn't do all that much better or still stays about the same as he did last year, I wouldn't be surprised. Whereas if Ben Johnson and the Bears and Kellen Moore and the Saints and all them, like if they're not that force multiplier you expect them to be, that would shock me a little bit more.
Where I agree with you is he lacks the body of work as an NFL coach, just like a pure coach in general. Only 2 seasons as an OC with the Rams in 2022, and then he went to college to
Yes.
Kentucky, then 2024 with the Bucks. So that's where I don't disagree with you, Fab. I think like even Canales, like where I'm compared to, I think he had even more of a body of work from a coaching standpoint. So I think we'll see. If I could just interject quickly, just I love the Pete Carroll hire. Like I've always been a big
Same.
Pete Carroll guy, and the
Same.
Raiders needed to kind of just flush out all the crap from
Yeah.
the McDaniels, and then even the substitute teacher
Antonio
what was his name?
Pierce.
Antonio Pierce. Like they just need a culture setter. They obviously have to figure out what they have to do, what they're going to do on an offensive standpoint. But I love the Pete Carroll hire.
Yeah.
The most energetic 73-year-old you could ever.
That's actually the only note that I have next to Pete Carroll's name on the show notes is love this because I thought it was a great hire and it's really good. It's going to set the tone again, similar to Aaron Glenn and the Jets, right? I think it's going to really
Yes.
help the locker room and all that stuff. It's what they need because Vegas has been dans le
Done.
poubelle for the last little
Done.
while, as they
Now
say.
now they need a quarterback. They got the structure guy that they needed to kind of
Yeah,
tail everything off, but now they need the quarterback. I know we said that last year. They had one of the
Yeah.
more talented rosters in the NFL, minus the
hmm
most important position. So
yeah.
hopefully something happens and maybe Mister Unlimited comes to town and pairs back up with Pete.
Wouldn't be a bad idea.
I don't know if they want. I think their relationship was a bit sour the last couple of
It
years,
got
but
better. They
It's a
they
little
kiss and made up.
they kiss and made up. Did they use
Yeah.
tongue or?
it's a little dangerous. It's a little dangerous. That's very dangerous. Anyways,
What the fact they kiss and made up, or
if they use
Well,
tongue,
the fact they used tongue, I think he was
have to use
alluding
tongue.
to. Yeah, yeah. Well, guys, there's also been a lot of buzz this offseason with players who've been put on the trade block and players that are potentially looking to probably get released and some attractive UFAs. So with that in mind, I want to see what your thoughts were on some players and where you think they'd go or their best fits, basically coming up in the next few weeks. So first, I'm hearing a lot of rumblings of Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford being like a package deal, kind of like trading both of them away at the same time. Um, Raj, what do you think here? What's are they a package deal? Are they both moving? Is only Kupp moving? I know Kupp is 100% moving, but would you get rid of Stafford too? What are your thoughts on this?
I just don't see it. Like I've been in the camp that Stafford is an LA. He's become a transplant LA guy. McVay absolutely loves him. Like I think he's tied to McVay. Actually, I think if they were to trade him, I could actually see McVay being like, "I'm out of here." Like he's not gonna
Hmm.
stay as a Rams coach until Stafford retires. I know his wife talks a lot of smack on her podcast, and she talks, and there's been rumors about them wanting to move him because of she's just had a bit of a potty mouth. But I really don't see him going anywhere. If he says he's coming back, it's because he's coming back to the Rams. In regards to Cup, I really think it's Steelers. If you were to go anywhere, the Steelers could use a chain moving slot receiver to pair with George Pickens, or even the Packers. The Packers are overinvested on X receivers with like Watson and Wicks and Dobbs. They have too many guys on the outside. They could also use someone that pairs very well with Jaden Reed in the slot to kind of just get first downs and just have that mature wide receiver in their wide receiver room.
Yeah. So before I get to your opinion on this, Fab, I do want to state that apparently he's only due 27 million next year, Matthew Stafford. So I think that was an issue going into last offseason is they wanted a contract extension and they weren't prepared to do so. And I think they're still at that kind of standstill where the Rams are okay paying a 37-year-old 27 million this year and don't want to really up it. But
Yeah.
from, I guess, Stafford's camp, he feels like he should be paid like one of the top guys in the league. And he wants closer to that 50, 55 million price tag, which I guess, look,
Nick
makes.
Burris' agent.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Mr. Top Five. But quickly, Fab, what do you think? What do you think about this one?
I like Cooper Cup to the Steelers. I was even thinking Washington because for the exact same reasons, it would definitely be a security blanket for Jaden Daniels. Stafford has a $49 million cap hit. So whoever is going to trade for him, like I know the Rams have been talking about like wanting a first round pick for Matthew Stafford. I don't see how you can justify asking for a first round pick when you're sending over a $49 million cap hit. Like I know it's Matthew Stafford.
They'd likely,
Yeah.
They would
obviously, the
have
team
to.
trading is going to obviously sign him to an extension to
It,
clean all that up. But
yeah, these contracts have not aged well at all. So if they are a package deal, it would be. Yeah, I don't know. Like they have to be giving up something to get them out of there. I feel like those contracts have not aged well at all. My
no,
Matthew
and
Stafford.
I think Cup is probably going to be leaning more towards a release because his contract too is
Even yeah, that's a $22 million dead cap hit if he's released.
Well,
yeah, I think there's a stipulation somewhere with like post June 1st release
June
and stuff
1st.
like
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
There's like
if he's post June 1st, it's 7.5.
yeah, exactly. So they'll
Yeah,
only have a dead cap of 7.5. So that's what they'll probably designate it as a post June 1st and let him go sign elsewhere. But I think he's due a $5 million roster bonus the third day, I want to say, of the new league year. So um,
7.5.
there you go.
Yeah,
7.5 million in the new league year. So that's a tough contract to kind of swallow. So a lot of teams know that, right? A lot
yeah,
of teams will hold it hostage and be like, "Well, no, we'll trade you after he's done." So
100%.
if it's a roster bonus. So if he's obviously released, he doesn't get access to that. So I say he most likely gets released,
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's a
but
likely
we'll see.
scenario.
Yeah,
But I do like him in Washington for the exact same reason that Roger mentioned. I think it would be a very good pairing for Jaden Daniel and have that security blanket for him. But the Steelers have never had, or at least from my recollection, it's since maybe Antonio Brown, where they have a guy that can really, soak up all of those targets and all those catches. That could be
Heinz
Cooper
Ward.
Cup for them. I
That's the
said
Then,
since
last kind of
Antonio.
guy, security blanket guy that
Yeah,
they've had.
yeah. Okay. Like a
yeah, but
true
Heinz
possession
Ward.
receiver.
True
Yes,
possession receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Next up here, we actually just mentioned it briefly before the end of the last segment, but there's been rumblings. Will Russell Wilson unite with Pete Carroll in Las Vegas? What say you, Fab?
Listen. I think it's not a horrible idea. There is already that relationship there. Russell Wilson obviously played his entire career with Pete Carroll at the Seahawks, right? So it's not as if they don't know each other. The quarterback room in the Raiders is thin to say the least. There's Minshew under contract right now in AOC. They're probably going to be looking for a quarterback in the draft. I don't know where they're picking right now. They might have a chance of getting Shadur Sanders if he falls to them. I think they're picking seventh or eighth. It's not
Yeah,
impossible. It's not impossible. So you figure you put Sanders in that room with AOC, and you have Russell Wilson and all this. Because I would cut Minshew and just save the cap space of about $6 million. Then you
yeah.
have Sanders sitting behind Russell Wilson for a little bit.
I can't see that.
You can't see what
I
Sanders sitting
can't see it
behind.
either.
Yeah, I can't see. Oh my God, that would be. Oh my, like I feel
Can't
like
see
there'd
it.
be a fight every single day.
Do you think the
I think
Raiders are
he would
trading up?
hate.
Fab?
What's that?
Do you think the Raiders are trading up? Because he's not. He's not. I don't think he's getting past the Giants, man.
I've seen so many mock drafts and my head is spinning, to be honest with you, about how he gets past the Giants and gets to the Raiders at seven, or sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it 7 or 8 that they're drafting at, like right around that spot?
The
I
only way that happens is if the Titans don't go QB, and then everyone's going to be
It's
in a
possible.
spiral. And if they take that Penn State defensive end,
Abdul Carter.
Hunter?
Abdul
Carter.
Carter.
Carter, that's his
Abdul
name.
Carter. He's
Yeah.
the top pick. Like obviously, if you figure the Browns are going to take him at 2, if Garrett Wilson, Garrett Miles Garrett is out of the building, and be you
Yeah.
trade the big contract for the stud rookie. But yeah, I don't know, Raj. What do you think about Russell Wilson to Vegas? Does that make sense?
So at first I was thinking it's not going to make sense because kind of the players they have don't really fit with the way Russell Wilson plays. Brock Bowers, especially Jacoby Myers, like slot guys and yak guys. But then Chip Kelly's the offensive coordinator. And if you recall, when Chip Kelly was either with the Niners or especially with Oregon, or even we saw it with Ohio State, they leveraged the running quarterback. So a lot of read options, a lot of bootleg, a lot of RPOs. So that actually could be an interesting fit. But if I look at it, honestly, it's either Raiders, Jets, and if even at Jets, like I'd rather have Tyrod Taylor. To me, I went through the list. Those are the
100%.
only two options for Russell Wilson, or going back to the Steelers.
I've been hearing a lot of Giants, man.
To start, mind you, to start.
It's picking up steam.
Yeah.
But mind you,
Well,
not to start. In terms of backup, the list is way bigger.
Oh,
but in
no.
terms of like,
he's not starting for the Giants
right now. He's starting for the Giants.
He's
right now.
the new Giants starter.
100%.
Right
Russell
now.
Wilson.
In April,
now.
No.
Do you think they'd go over and they start a rookie over Wilson if they signed him?
Yes, man. Yes.
Wilson is not going to come cheap. Everyone thinks he's going to come like you're going to be signing this guy to at least $35 million, right? Like you're looking at the Baker Mayfield kind of deal.
Why? For what? What did he do?
But that's what, because that's
$35 million for Russell Wilson.
Top 5. That's half of the top 5. $30 million is cheap for a starting quarterback, technically. If you're looking at it that way.
He's a bridge, though. Like how much?
That's
his career.
But that's his market. That's his market is 35 million for 2 years, like 2 years, 70 million.
So now you're saying you're saying 3 places: Raiders, Jets, and Giants.
Anyone who needs a QB right now is on the table. I would say the Giants are one of them. The Jets, Vegas. You can't count out the Steelers. You've been hearing back and forth of whatever. Like they need a QB. You can't count them out as a team that's not looking for one.
If you're the Titans, like would you rather have Levis or would you rather have Russell Wilson if you're the Titans?
Like probably Levis.
Yeah,
not for nothing. Like he's younger. He'd probably be able to. Maybe he's cheaper. Like if you're gonna draft Cam Ward or Sanders, like you wanna. You don't. I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, it's any team that needs a quarterback right now. So the problem is like he's a guy where you need a quarterback and you think you're actually going to win. That's why it's like Giants don't make sense to me because they're not in like a
no.
They're not winning with it. They're not a quarterback away from winning right now, right?
The Giants only make sense to me
if Wilson away.
The Giants only make sense to me if the contract is favorable. $30 million is not favorable. If he comes in at around 20, fine, or 25, we can have that conversation.
I don't think we'll get.
Oh, Gino's getting 25, right? So it's not impossible.
Gino, how long did he sign ago?
Right? 2 years ago?
4 or 5 years. I don't have confidence in Wilson's fit with Neighbors, like at all.
No, I don't think it's a very good move at all. I think it's a horrible move. I'm just trying to see if the numbers make sense.
Because I don't like it either.
The Giants should be drafting a quarterback. Ideally, they'll be drafting a quarterback. And if I'd rather have my quarterback sit for at least 6 games, 8 games, whatever it is, right behind the Russell Wilson, the vet, the starter, and then let the rookie take the reins and take control. But the numbers have to make sense. But Roger, I agree with you. Russell Wilson and Neighbors will not work at all.
Oh my god!
I don't think so. I don't think so.
The subtweeting.
Russell Wilson. I don't see him working anywhere except for Vegas.
Well, talk about something else that didn't work this year, and that's Mr. Deebo Samuel, Raj's favorite fantasy football player, I think, of all time. There's rumors actually that he's obviously they've granted him permission to seek out a trade, but now it's looking even more likely that he's going to be released.
Yeah.
There's reports saying that he's like 30 pounds overweight and stuff like that. So I ask you, Raj, what is he even worth in a trade right now? And what team makes sense?
So I've looked it up. Typically, these star receivers usually command 2 picks in a trade. If you go back to OBJ to Cleveland, Hopkins to Arizona, Diggs to the Bills, Julio Titans, even Percy Harvin, which was like actually the best comp for Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, that's a great comp.
So I think Denver could be interesting.
Hmm.
They could use
I see
someone
this. Yeah.
who can complement Cortland Sutton, who can play out of the backfield as well. Bo Nix loves the quick pass
Yep.
and the yak yards. So I think that would be a really nice fit. He needs to get his conditioning up in that altitude, though.
Do they have
30.
do they have nice treadmills in Denver?
They have 5,000 feet of altitude, so even better, man. He's gonna have to get in shape.
So quickly, what's he worth? Like, what are you giving up for if you're Denver?
Like a third and a fifth, fourth and fifth. But like again, these kind of like quote unquote star wide receivers always go for.
Well, look, you mentioned
I have to see if they even have those picks.
AB
Yeah.
went for a third and a fifth.
Yeah,
Way back
this
when
is
to the
this
Raiders.
is when for the Raiders. Yeah,
The Raiders. Yeah, he went for a third and a fifth. Fab, quickly, what is Deebo worth to you?
I don't think much.
What's his best fit?
Well, Roger again hit a good one. I was thinking about the Cowboys actually, just because I feel like it'd be a nice complementary receiver to CD Lamb. Again, exact same reasons as Roger mentioned. I feel like they're missing that wide receiver too. They've been looking for it for a while now. It could be really helpful. Maybe Deebo can fill those shoes. And yeah, I guess a third and a fifth. I guess. I mean, as far as the compensation is concerned, and for the trade value, I mean, you have to see exactly how out of shape is he. I was looking at his stats. Like apart from that 1 year in 2021 where he went off for those 1,400 yards, he's
Rod's doing the Don Cherry,
and he was healthy all of last year. So I don't want to say health is an issue with him. He played the second most amount of snaps he did in his career. First amount of snaps being that year where he went off.
bro. If
So he
that's
was
healthy, man,
healthy.
I don't know. I don't want to be healthy.
Dude, well, they went away from him. Like they weren't even looking for him towards the end. It was all Juwan Jennings, right? Even when he was healthy, Juwan Jennings was the alpha over there. So yeah, I mean, you have to see what his conditioning is and all that stuff. But I think it could be interesting in Dallas. He can have a bit of resurgence, but you have to temper expectations, especially from a fantasy perspective. This guy's not being drafted on my team, but from a real football perspective, there could be something interesting there.
Yeah, and I know the Steelers had interest way back when that whole saga went through. So I hope it's not an off season of another wide receiver from San Francisco drama all off season. I was so glad when that was over. Speaking of wide receivers, though, we've got one premier wide receiver here potentially on the market. He is technically going to be a free agent in a few weeks if he is not tagged. So that's obviously talking about Higgins. Is he worth $30 million, Raj? Are you paying him $30 million? Are they going to you see the Bengals paying him to a long-term deal? I know there's rumors of they're going to tag him potentially. And does a team like the Pats make sense to like go all in on this guy?
So he's been injury prone the last 2 years. He's started 11 games in 2023, 9 games in 2024. Had a really good year though, 900 yards, 10 TDs, and was the 8th highest rated wide receiver according to PFF. So at 30 mil, I'd say he slots into the Waddle, DJ Moore, Devonta Smith range, which I'd be okay with. I would just question the decision from a Bengals standpoint where they need to invest in their defense. And they also already invested in Yoshivas. I know they drafted Jermaine Burton, who had some off-field issues, but he has a lot of potential. But Burrow wants to keep all the guys there, so I think it makes a lot of sense, but you got to manage that with the rest of their cap situation and all the other needs on defense. And in terms of the Pat, I think if it's not there, it's like the Pats is like it's the rumor du jour that you've been seeing the entire offseason.
Yeah, and I know I heard you mentioned, you alluded to the defense that needs to be addressed. Hendrickson is also a free agent that needs to be paid. NFL sack leader this year, and I'm pretty sure they're going to want to keep him. So
if I could,
it's going to be definitely.
How is it that the Bengals had the top passer in terms of touchdowns and yards, the Triple Crown winner in wide receiver, the sack leader, and they still missed the playoffs?
It's not a
Crazy.
lot of depth on that team on defense.
Yeah,
Crazy.
it was
That's
one. Yeah,
mhm.
I don't even know if they finished though top 10 in sacks, even with the sack leader. Like it all went through him, right? Um, and he had
18?
19,
17.
18 or 19
Yeah.
sacks this year, which is unbelievable. What about you, Fab? What do you think happens with Higgins?
I mean, I think they should sign him. I more importantly, like Joe Burrow even went on record saying, "Yeah, the Eagles can sign all these guys. Why can't we?" You know, so it's like, I mean, he has a point. Um, if you could do it with Jamar Chase, I mean, if you do it AJ Brown and you can do it with Devontae Smith, why can't you do it with T Higgins and Jamar Chase? I mean, you're going to be looking at similar contracts in that sense, the 1A, 1B. You're going to get your top two guys for a nice chunk of time. I mean, the contract that of DJ Moore is in line. Waddle was about 28 and a quarter per year. If inflation comes around and it goes to 30, then it goes to 30 because the cap is also going to be going up again next year and the year after. So I don't see $30 million being a number that's too big, but I would not want to go beyond that. Brandon Ayuk 4 year 120 million. That's okay. Same year, same age as well too. Obviously not same production. I get that, but you know, you sometimes have to overpay for these guys too a little bit.
Yeah, and you know what? I saw an interesting thing on Twitter today as well. Is that these top end wide receivers never hit the market. You go back to
No.
2018, they're either traded or they're extended, basically by their teams. You have like DJ Moore, he was traded. Calvin Ridley suspended, then traded. Cortland Sutton was extended. 2019, you had Deebo Samuel, he was extended. AJ Brown was traded. Metcalf extended. Terry McLaurin extended. 2020, CD Lamb extended. Jefferson extended. Ayuk extended. T. Higgins expected to be tagged.
Yep.
Pittman was extended. 2021, Jamar Chase. He's probably going to be either obviously tagged or most likely extended. Waddle extended. Smith extended. Nico Collins extended. Amon Ra extended. And then you have the eligible ones this season who will be 2022 class is Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Olave, Jameson
But
Williams, Pickens, and Khalil Shakir. So elite wide receivers never reach free agency. And out of the top 20 wide receivers entering 2024, 17 of them were drafted by their current team. Two were traded under the current team. So that's AJ Brown and um, DJ Moore. And it did go on to say that one was a free agent, which was Davante Adams, but I don't think it counts as a free agent. He was tagged and traded to the Raiders. So if you want an elite wide receiver, you have to draft them. Like it's just plain and simple, and then you don't want to lose them. Like it's rare that you get these guys free agency, and only if look, only two of them were traded. So
Yeah.
and
I found that a pretty interesting stat.
and like you have to factor in T Higgins is doing what he's doing with Jamar Chase in front of him. So
Yeah,
imagine if
which is
he's on the
wild.
Yeah.
same team.
Exactly. That's very
Yeah,
true.
and hey, when he was playing and Jamar Chase wasn't, he balled out too. So it's not like
100%.
he
Yeah.
was just there and he was stagnant, and that's why the production was coming. But
Totally.
um, another guy who's on the tag and potentially trade discussion is Sam Darnold. Do you think he gets tagged, Fab, or is he just allowed to simply, tagged and traded, or is he simply allowed to just walk out the building?
Yeah. See, this is a tough one because by all accounts, Sam Darnold deserves to be tagged. Yes. But then you look at the situation that Minnesota have right now with JJ McCarthy waiting in the wings and assuming to be the quarterback for their franchise going forward. So tagging him for 1 year, it's a $40 million investment, but then you can shake your hands of it and you could be done with it the following year. If you can tag him and trade him and get value for him, because at that price point, like Sam Darnold, you can win games with him, but you're not going to win games because of him. He has to be in the right environment, and we've seen that already with Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. He has to be in the right environment. He has to be within the right situation with the right players around them and all that stuff. He can win you games though, right? He's I feel like a little bit like Brock Purdy. I know Purdy's going to get 60 million, so I'm not going to say Sam Darnold deserves that, but I feel like it's a little bit like that. I always refer to Roger. He's not a force multiplier. He's not, but at the same time, I give him the 40 million and trade him. I think that makes sense. I do not think he should be allowed to walk. At the very least, if you can trade him, sign him for the $40 million and then just worry about it next year. But Yeah, I think the tag should be done with Darnold. Whatever happens after all depends, I guess, what's available, what the market is, who's calling the Minnesota Vikings to see what they can get for him. Yeah.
What do you think, Raj?
KOC seemed non-committal at the end of those last two games, so I
Yeah.
feel like it's done. I feel if you want to move on from him and you want to start the JJ McCarthy era, you have to have Sam Darnold out of the building because it'll just cause too much controversy. So the Vikings have 55 million in cap space. I believe, Naki, you're pretty good with the cap. I believe if they tag him, that cap number counts, regardless of whether they trade him. That cap number counts against the cap for that 1 year. Correct? For
The
the
40
Vikings,
million
yeah.
to
Even if
the
they trade him,
Vikings?
yeah. Even if they trade him after, or am I wrong? I don't know. I'm
No,
not.
I don't. I don't.
No.
I
Trying to
don't
do some
think.
research on it.
I
I
don't
can't
think
really
the
find.
team. I don't think. I think the tag
Wait.
is different. Um,
Okay,
you're just on the hook. Like there's no getting away from the cap. So you're on the hook for $40 million
exactly.
cap
Yes,
to the team he
yes.
goes to. So
Okay,
yeah, if they trade him
Yeah.
away, his whole contract's gone, and that all his
Yeah.
guarantees are gone, and it was only for 1 year anyway.
and
So
therefore, to me, it's a no-brainer. Like they need to
they
start.
may have some dead cap, but
Yeah,
there's no way it's 40 because or else what happened with Davante Adams? Like there was no way
correct.
Green Bay was taking on all that
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly. Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so
that
for,
year the Raiders took on the entirety of the cap for the franchise tag and for the contract that they extended him on.
and it's interesting. Most of the tag and trade that have happened, it's been like defensive players. Like recently,
Yeah.
it's mostly like Yannick Ngakwe and
Well,
Frank
Brian
Clark and
Burns last year, I think,
Brian
right?
Burns. Good call, Fab. Jadavian
Yeah.
Clowney. It hasn't really happened for offensive players, but they have to move on from Darnold, and I think they might have to take a few steps back to take those steps forward with JJ McCarthy.
Yeah. Another player we've been hearing rumblings that potentially he requested a trade, then he didn't, and he requested a trade, then he didn't. It was Garrett Wilson. I want to ask you, Raj, is he worth a first and potentially even a second and possibly more to a team? Like,
Yes.
would you trade that much for a Garrett Wilson?
Yes. This has Stephon Diggs written all over it. Stephon Diggs,
Mhm.
when he went from the Vikings to the Bills, which he went for a first round and a fifth round, and then more recently AJ Brown as well. I don't think Garrett Wilson is as good as AJ Brown, but Brown went for a first to the Eagles from the Titans and a third round pick. So if you look at Garrett Wilson's first 3 years with very pedestrian quarterback play, 1,000, hit
Yeah.
over 100 and over 100 receptions.
Pedestrians
So
calling it nice, by the way.
yeah, and like we just know how talented of a player he is despite the bad quarterback play. To me, this is a
Mhm.
no-brainer. And the wide receiver class this year is fairly mediocre in my. I wouldn't say mediocre, but it's not. Garrett Wilson would be the first wide receiver taken in this class.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's like a few guys. I think there's McMillan and there's
Ted McMillan,
Emeka, Roger,
Ibuka.
and Buka Emeka, who are going to be first round talents. But apart from that, yeah, I agree with you. He's definitely worth the first round pick. The Stefan Diggs comp is perfect. But I've been hearing that the Jets are apparently rumored to be an option for Justin Fields. That way they can pair the former quarterback for the
Oh,
teammates, Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields together. It's a rumor. I don't know how it's going to happen, but it'd be interesting if they put that together. And it could also, could make Garrett Wilson happy. He starts to play again with his old buddy for the first 2 years of his career at Ohio State.
Hmm. That would be something. I could see that. I could see that happening. It's not like it's not a far fetched move, and I guess
No?
yeah.
it's a way of keeping a wide receiver on your roster that potentially wanted to leave. I think
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers leaving is probably a good thing for Garrett Wilson. Maybe he kind of slows
Yeah.
down the training stuff. But yeah, I know. I think I tend to agree.
That
I think he could easily go for almost two first round picks, and you do it a talent like that and how young he is. So
and you think about it, Garrett Wilson, like Roger mentioned, right? He was on a pretty decent projection already. And last year, like, it was a mess for the Jets. Like, Rodgers brought all of his buddies in. He brought Davante Adams in. He brought Adam Lazard in. All these guys that were basically eating into whatever production Garrett Wilson could be having. So you would imagine the year he would have had if he was really the focal point of that offense, like he was expected to be, right? Because he can do it. Like, you've seen the talent that's there. So this could be, if he is traded, yeah, he's worst. It's a first round pick, and it's a bargain at that price because this guy's gonna be a stud. Stud.
I tend to agree, and I think we just mentioned his soon-to-be former teammate, Aaron Rodgers. The Jets have informed him that they are moving on. It's going to be a post-June first release, but he will be a free agent as of the new league year and eligible to sign wherever he wants. Fab, does Rodgers call it a career, or does he have one last dance somewhere?
I think he's capable to have one last dance or even two. I don't think it's out of the question. Listen, he still threw for like 4,000 yards last year, and he had a decent season towards the end. He really turned it on. So I think there is still some gas in the tank. My problem is that, like, again, I just mentioned it before. Like, you saw the circus that came with him, right? You saw the GM was going against the head coach was fired and all that stuff, and then they basically just circle back and hire another defensive coordinator as a head coach, which, again, I like the hire, don't get me wrong, but do you want to deal with that headache? I don't know, honestly speaking. Like, he might be forced to retire just because all the teams that want a quarterback don't want the headache that comes with it for having Aaron Rodgers there. So that's my thing. But I do still think he has football left in him. I don't know if there's the juice worth the squeeze when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. I have no idea.
It's funny because I heard kind of rumors that like if Matt Stafford leaves, then like Rodgers goes there for a year, finishes
Yeah,
it off in LA.
yeah, he's an LA
There
boy.
was
Makes
there was
sense. Yeah.
rumors of that
Or
going
California.
on, which is funny to me. Um,
That
I don't
won't
know. I feel
work.
like I feel like no, probably not. But I feel like a team like maybe the Raiders makes sense. It just like you said, it's a lot of baggage and a lot of like media circus. The media loves to eat into to Aaron Rodgers, and then like, are we gonna get the band back together? You're gonna get Davante Adams to come back to Vegas. Like, I don't know if Vegas is gonna welcome him with open arms. Fab, you had something to add?
I was thinking, Raj, I was thinking about what would happen if Aaron Rodgers would come to the Giants. And do you imagine Brian Dable on the sidelines, like,
Dude,
just ripping into Aaron Rodgers, just chewing him out?
I might
Aaron, you
hope
have
for.
to make that pass.
I hate to say it. I might hope for another Achilles tear.
Wow.
Oh my god!
Wow.
Oh my god!
I think he has a year left. There's no way he's retiring like this. I think either Nashville, Tennessee, because apparently he has land there. Like the most like
There's no
random.
way he goes to
There's like the
Tennessee.
most
There's no
random
one
thing.
there. But there's
He
no
has,
one there.
and then the other one is I kept saying at the Super Bowl, not like Pittsburgh makes a ton of sense. I think
Oh
Pittsburgh makes
man,
so much
everyone
sense.
does not want him there, but you just
Who's
keep
everyone?
hearing well, the whole fan base does not want
Really?
him there. Yeah, man. I don't know if I want Aaron like I look, and I've been like
He's got the
the Aaron
winks.
Rodgers
He's got
guy
the winks with
in
Mike
our
Tomlin. You know?
in our chat. But that's what it is. Like they both have respect for each other. They both whatever. But then it's like again, it starts with like, what are you bringing with you, and who do we have to get, and who do we like? We have to go get Randall
Yeah.
Cobb. Like, we're not signing Randall Cobb. You know, does Nathaniel Hackett
Mike
to be part
Williams
of
is
the
there, so
coaching
Mike
staff?
Williams
Like,
is not going to
well,
go there.
Mike Williams is a free agent, so he's
Okay.
probably not back. But man, I don't know. Like, it's a lot with him, right? And the problem is like Tomlin's been known as like the players coach, and like he's been known to not discipline players, right? So it's just like he's gonna come in there, maybe run the show and this like. Would I like to see it? Sure, why not? It'd be fun to get like cheer Aaron Rodgers on. Like you guys know, I love Aaron Rodgers. I love all of that stuff. I think it's just the media that kind of runs with stupid stories sometimes. Obviously, a bit of it is him as well. He's just like that guy, but
I mean, how many players have a Netflix special made about them during the regular
it
season?
was really good. It was actually
I'm
really.
not saying it's. I haven't watched it. I don't know if it's good or bad. I'm just saying it's.
It was.
What is
It was good.
ayahuasca? What is ayahuasca? Do you sniff it? Do you drink it?
I think it's a drink.
It's a drink.
Yeah,
You
Mac
said it
is the
perfectly.
resident Aaron Rodgers
He's a lot.
connoisseur.
You know, like how like
he
sometimes
is a lot.
you know how,
That's
Yeah,
a perfect
he
way to
is.
describe it. He's
You
a
know how you-
lot.
Yeah.
like there's people you're just like you're a lot. Like
Yeah.
you are
But
a lot.
look, okay,
We have a few of those guys in our friends group. Yeah.
but truth be told, if you tell me tomorrow that the Steelers sign Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams comes with him, paired with George
Oh, hell yeah.
Pickens, I'm like, sign me up. Like I will do a year of that. I don't care about
sure.
any circus. Sign me up. I'm gonna go to as many games
sure.
as I possibly can, and I want to watch that. Like that's for me must see TV as a fan. Like I don't care about whatever it is, and then you draft the Q. And look, if it burns, hey, you have a high draft pick, and you hopefully get Manning next year. You know,
And who's the best coach to handle that type of circus?
Mike Tomlin. Look, he kept. How long did he keep AB under wraps and all that stuff with Bell and
Oh no,
Martinez
he has a lot of experience
and
when
like-
it comes to
He kept
circuses.
Big Ben under wraps, literally and figuratively.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Yeah, that's a.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, he tried to.
He tried to. It wasn't very successful. But I mean, look, he did keep a lot of players on the wrap. So
He did his best.
is it a good situation? I don't know if it's the best, but I would if he came with Davante Adams, which obviously was the next player on our list, basically saying will Davante Adams follow Aaron Rodgers wherever he goes, or does he go to a situation where he potentially could win a Super Bowl?
Chargers.
Davante?
Chargers makes the most sense. And I thought I read somewhere that he wants to go back to the West Coast because he's an LA guy as well. He's a West Coast guy. Imagine him with Lad McConkey,
I like that actually.
Justin Herbert. Finally, no more excuses for Justin Herbert.
I feel like there'd be so many good fits for an alpha like that. You know, like so
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
teams need that legit veteran alpha guy. And like,
Packers.
dude, he still had a great year. And when they turned it on at the end of the year, like it looked
Yeah, he
great.
was killing
Aaron
it.
Rodgers looked
He was
great.
killing it. Yeah.
He's still got juice in the tank. So I'd
100%.
just be funny to. I wonder where he goes. You know, if he goes to whatever.
But I like that. I like the Chargers with the good coaching situation there, and Justin Herbert can sling it. I like that a lot. That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I do like that too. And then to finish it off, we have good old Ohio State boy Justin Fields. Are the Steelers going to re-sign this guy, or does maybe the Giants or the Raiders make sense as a short-term deal while they potentially draft their QB of the future? Fab?
I mean, the Steelers should sign him. Like, it's not as if he played poorly when he was the starter for those 6 games. He went 4-2, right? Correct me
Yeah.
if I'm wrong on that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, went 4-2, throwing it to George Pickens, and that's about it. You know what I mean? Like, they're it's not as if they have a bevy of offensive products around him. Yeah, fine, they have 2 good running backs. I'm not going to knock them, but apart from that, like it's. So yeah,
One
I
good
mean,
running
give
back.
Justin Fields a little bit of credit on that.
Raj hates Harris.
I mean, yeah, they're serviceable running backs. That's where I'm going to leave it at. Okay, but they're serviceable running backs, and that's. But at the same time, like I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't. Like they need a young quarterback now. They're never going to be getting one when they're drafting 21st every single year. So see what you have with Justin Fields. Sign him for what? What would you sign him for?
The
You sign him
market value right now, what was I reading, was 1 year, 6.4 million. That is apparently market value for Justin Fields
Exactly.
at the
I
moment.
was gonna say
Perfect.
I was gonna say the Darnold deal, like 110 last year.
That
fantastic.
would be the max. I would not sign him for more than that.
Fantastic. That's pennies on the dollar.
But
Fantastic.
a team with bigger caps. I don't know what the Giants or Raiders or Jets have in terms of cap space, but
Giants have decent cap space.
he's
Giants can take
he's
a run.
been heard. It's been like when you read some articles, he wants to go somewhere where there's a clear path for him to start the full year.
Yeah.
So wherever he goes, he wants to be assured you're the starter. Unless it's an injury, you're starting. So to me, this is the path, like you said, Fab, that I would choose for the Steelers.
Yeah.
If for whatever reason he plays a whole year and this guy finds himself and they have their QB of the future, fantastic. And if he crashes and burns, maybe they draft. Oh, they pick Ben at 11. Maybe they draft. They get to a top 10 pick. They move up. They draft Manning potentially the next year. Like That's how it happened for when they did it with Ben Roethlisberger. I read through a huge list of players that they could have drafted in draft classes where they said, no, we're going to stick to the status quo. We're going to pick our players around him. And then they finally burned out with, was it Tommy Maddox, and drafted Ben. And then obviously the rest is history.
Tommy Maddox.
Dude,
Raj?
the 2026 draft class is nuts. Like there's Manning, there's Ima Laivea from Tennessee, Drew Aller. That could be interesting. Penn
Mhm.
State.
I don't
to
like that
Pittsburgh. So
one. I'm not a big fan of Aller, to be honest.
you don't like Aller?
No.
Give him another year. Wait and see.
Again, to
Yeah,
go with like this, the Penn State, the guy, the Pennsylvania guy.
that's
Like
true.
I'm scared.
Penn State
I'm
QBs
scared.
have been a disaster, but it just feels like Fields.
Brutal.
He just feels like he's rumored to every team now. I think he
Well,
deserves a
every team
chance
needs
to
a
start.
quarterback.
Yeah, but like literally every team, even teams that don't need a quarterback. But this to me is his last chance to be like try to be a full-time starter. If it doesn't work out, go ahead and be a spot starter, like a career backup. I think he's gonna be a very fine backup. But I think that place, I agree, it has to be the Steelers.
But I think they made a mistake last year. They tried something, but they made a mistake signing Fields or trading for Fields and signing Wilson. It was just like two kind of guys that wanted to be the first.
See,
like they
that
thought
I
it was
disagree
kind
with.
of competition. It wasn't a competition. It was never a competition. If Wilson was
No,
healthy,
but
he would have started week 1.
I don't think they made a mistake with signing both those quarterbacks, because the fact that Russell wasn't able to play in the first few games of the season obviously helped them, made it look a lot better, because you're able to see what you had in two guys on the very cheap. They basically had a whole entire season to test them both out and see what they're going to do with them, and decide what direction they could go in the future, whether it's going to be Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. Now they sort of made that decision knowing that they're not going to bring back Russell, most likely. So sign Fields. Like, he's younger, he's much more capable, he gets you out of jams. It's there. And like, Nak, what you said, why are we talking so much about the Steelers? Like,
it always comes
if
down
they
to
crash and burn, then they pick a top end QB the next year. They can't go do another.
I think it's the only
They
way.
can't have another 9-win season. That's what they can't do. They got to have 3 wins or they got to have 14.
you sound like Mike.
Nothing
You
in
sound like
between.
Mike Greenberg and Chris Russo.
Let off the hook.
They gotta have
He sounds
3
like
wins.
he sounds like a politician right now.
They sound like 3 wins. No, Fab, it was a mistake last year, because I guarantee you, I'm sure Nak and all other Steelers fans, once the clock hits 0 in that wild card round, they're like, God damn it! Why didn't we just start Field the entire season so we could freaking see what we had to make our decision?
That's
easier?
what I'm saying. In terms of a
Like,
season of
it's a waste.
seeing and scouting a team as a player, now you have to do it all over again because he only played 6 games. In 6 games he had 10 total touchdowns, only 1 interception. I think he had a lost fumble, but his stats were decent. You just had to see what it was like for a whole season, and you could have done that last year, but now you're going to have to do it potentially again this year. But like I said, either he finds his game and he becomes a top quarterback that everyone thought he was going to be, or they bought him out and they draft a high QB next year. But nothing, you don't think the Giants potentially take a shot? Raiders, Jets? I know
maybe
mentioned the Jets before, but
maybe the Giants take a shot, but if Fields wants to go somewhere where he's going to start, he's not going to go to the Giants if the Giants are expected to pick a quarterback with the 3rd overall pick, right? That's another thing.
I assume that would be discussed, yeah.
Yeah, because or else like you're just negotiating in bad faith, right? Because I'm sure
Kirk Cousins, Penix.
True.
Yeah, that's true.
Mind you, like there's a different, but like there's an age gap. Like it was very clear what they saw Penix and knowing how old.
Yeah, and also and Kirk Cousins, my God, that contract.
Yeah. Raiders could be interesting. Again, the same thing we said about Russell Wilson, Chip Kelly, Fields, mobile quarterback, RPOs, read option. But AOC's there, and I think AOC, if they're not somehow not going to go for a QB in the draft, AOC, I think, in my opinion, played well enough to warrant another look. But again, it's the same thing, and that's why but look, that's why Antonio Pierce is not there, because it's like those are the types of years where like Gardner Minshew should not be starting. If you have a young player, you're not going to go anywhere with Gardner Minshew. Take the year to evaluate the quarterback position in your roster,
I
see how
agree.
AOC is, because now you're not sure. And he looked good. He looked good against KC. He
He
looked good
did.
in quite a few games, man. Like I
He
don't
did.
think he's a bad player.
He's just
Or a politician.
He's just AOC. He's just too AOC.
he's just AOC. Yeah, he's just AOC.
He's middle of the pack. That's what he is. Like he's not. You're not excited
Middle of
about
the
it, but you're not like oh my god, it's Daniel Jones. You know, like
Can you just do
it's-
the pod? Can you just need to do the podcast in your Mike Greenberg, Chris Russo voice, please?
I was getting very fired up. You need 3 wins or 14. Nothing in between. Nothing in between. It's enough of this garbage, Mike Tomlin. You take Mike Tomlinson's and you get out of here.
That's so good.
Tomlisms.
Whatever.
Well, that about wraps it up for another edition of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, guys. As always, please follow us on all the social media platforms, the TikToks, the Instagrams. Subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, everywhere, anywhere you get your podcasts. And as I mentioned before, football is over for this year, but that the show must go on, and these will keep going as we head into the combine and the draft. We got some good stuff coming, so
Yeah.
keep it locked in. Raj, cue the music, baby. One.
Sometimes the Mondays are not bad because like it's just one for the week.
Mondays are fine.
Mondays
Sometimes.
off season is good. Mondays in
Yeah.
season sucks.
Is bad.
that's
Yeah,
not
I
bad,
agree.
Yeah. No bad, yeah. Definitely.
All right, everyone. Peace out.
Good night, guys.
Goodbye.